Gennady, did you?
Yeah, since we raised the issue of consciousness, of course, science attempted to answer this question. I would refer to the work of Jean Piaget. We live in a spatio-temporal world, and we frequently talk about reality in terms of space and time, forgetting that our categories from space and time are not always applicable. For example, we separate subject and object, and we think that they're ontologically totally different. Modern science is based on it. But can we really do it? Psychologist Jean Piaget analyzed how children construct reality and how at the same time as they construct the world in the first year of their life, they construct their own mind. Where is the difference between subject and object? They're poles of the same continuum, this process. Consciousness emerges as a result of this process. This process, if we take evolution seriously, and we should as we believe in science, where did it come from, if not from cosmos? There must be something in cosmos that creates potential and possibility for us to develop consciousness. And it does.
May I follow that? I had a question for David just along those lines. And as many people here know, the German philosopher Schopenhauer had a theory of a kind of underlying metaphysical force called the will. And the will he saw manifesting itself in everything. And it was a sort of a theory of everything. And it was a theory of all motion, Schopenhauer said that it manifested itself most directly in music. When I read David's works, I thought, well, this is reminiscent in an interesting way of Schopenhauer, because Schopenhauer's will is a sort of force beyond us all that manifests itself in all human creativity, all human movement, all change, all everything. And that force is discernible in sort of all things. Now, that version of kind of philosophical romanticism was criticized on a number of points, but what I wanted to ask here for today is what Schopenhauer did was to really displace autonomy and responsibility and choice from the individual. In this case, let's say the composer, the musical composer, music manifesting the will sort of beneath the metaphysical power and force beneath everything, working its way out almost hydraulically. That force is the real source of all expressive content in the world. In fact, it's the source, he said, of everything. And so that force is actually what is manifesting through mere human beings who happen to be the instrument of that force, who think they're composing, Beethoven's Fifth, but actually it's the force doing it. It's actually the will beneath that's manifesting. And I wondered, in David's work, David, where is the potential? Is it out there manifesting itself somewhat like Schopenhauer through us, or is it in fact in us individually, or have I got a bad question that's too bifurcated?
Well, whenever I watch or listen to philosophical discussions like this, when someone pegs a question to a particular philosopher and asks for an answer pegged to that philosopher, it assumes that everyone in the room knows everything about that philosopher. So, seriously, wait. So
that's what I try to give brief.
So therefore, all right. So So I'd like to limit the question to the dynamics, which was the end part of your question.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think I've been pretty clear that I perceive that the force, that this quest potential is within all of us, but we also swim in that river, so to speak. We swim in that cosmic river of potential. And that would be the very to the point answer to your question. I believe it's in us, but we also sort of swim in the cosmic river of potential.
Does that make me a volitional agent, or does that make me a sort of puppet of some other thing?
No, it means that if you sort of get into the water and swim, you'll sort of get traction.
Right.
But you can choose not to engage.
Right.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
That's the hypothesis. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I just want to say one a sort of footnote to our conversation. I just want to remind everyone that a lot of us have philosophical academic friends. The greatest kindness and cooperation we can show is to hammer each other with extremely difficult questions to sharpen the position at hand and to better understand it. And so I hope that no one misunderstands the nature of that project. It's cooperative, and we all see ourselves as working together. Anything else from the...
No, I guess I misunderstood the panel, so I didn't hear comments about Summa. I was told we were just going to take questions about the topic of theology, religion, science, and metaphysics. So that was what I understood we were doing here. I didn't know we were going to talk about Summa.
Oh, yeah, we were, you were right. We're about to open up to that.
Okay.
And now sort of turn to larger connection. We kind of focus on David's work for the second part, open it up to the entire conference, the entire theme
Okay, because I just...
everything you've done here.
Yeah,
No, you were quite, sorry. There were two parts. I didn't make that clear at the beginning. Gennady?
Maybe I want to say something that I would invite the panel to respond. We make these differentiations: philosophy, metaphysics, science, religion. But isn't it all part of human reason? There was time when religion and science were getting along very well together. Science was religion promoted science. It created the basis for scientific thought. I'm more sympathetic to David's probably vague description, where he tries to bring it all together. And I think the reason what attracted me to this conference is precisely this sort of openness and willingness of people who come from very different directions to cross over to each other and interact. And let me give you one simple example. A child is born. The child has physiological functions. Child sees and child hears. And these functions know nothing about each other. They're totally separate. No connection between them. In the course of the first year of his life, or her life, the child learns to hear when he sees and to see when he hears. And the child is 10 months, he hears mommy's voice, he looks around, he's looking for an image. By the end of the first year, the child can combine hearing and seeing and construct symbolic thought that is incredibly powerful. It is neither hearing nor seeing, but something totally different, something irreducible. If this is not a creation, I don't know what is. And it comes from nowhere. Doesn't seem, you cannot causally explain it by reducing it to either hearing or seeing. So I would like to invite your comment on this. Why are we talking science, religion? It's all human reason. I think the more we realize it, and the more we interact with each other, maybe we will be able to really integrate as a humanity a little bit more.
Well, I think that many fields are interrelated, and essentially one field, like say physics, chemistry, anthropology, all the sciences, from my perspective, is really one big field. But on the other hand, respectfully, religion is sort of a different category. It operates by different premises. So, you can't so cavalierly say religion is reason. You can't so cavalierly say that. The religionists would say it is, and people not within religion would say it's not. But I think your basic intent is that everything is, everything is related, which it is, but everything is not necessarily classic human reason. With all due respect to you. I mean, you made a beautiful presentation. It was very complimentary to me. But at the same token, the proposition that everything is human reason would not be accepted by many people here, including myself. Religion takes many leaps of faith, and leaps of faith, to the extent that they are not You cannot say it's within that all religions, leaps of faith, or all religion are within the realm of a generally accepted reason. You know, with all due respect to your illustrious personage, that would be my response to you. Yeah.
I just feel the need to say a few things. One is, part of this conference has been very strange to me. I've never quite understood this whole science versus religion thing, and when I come across it or when I've heard it bubble up at this conference or at other places, what I'm usually hearing is fundamentalist religion against scientism, and they both sound silly to me. So I just have to say that. They're both very dogmatic. Now, and I think Marciela and others have made this point very well at this conference, and I really appreciate that what I see is a more reasoned approach, which, humans, religion's important for humans to deal with, to give them consolation in life and so forth. And it has a kind of role it plays in people's lives, and that's one thing, and science is about something completely different, which is an understanding of the universe. Now, I'm not going to defend or deride either, but I feel like I keep being put in the position during this conference that I need to take sides. I'm not religious. I don't support the kind of dogmas or beliefs as truth that we've been hearing. But saying that, I don't think the fact that one is an atheist or a non-supernaturalist means they have to deride all aspects that go under the term religion, whatever that means. So I find that a problematic I'm not comfortable with. The other thing is, when I received the invitation to this conference and so forth, the word academic was all over it. This is an academic conference, and we're going to discuss how a metaphysics might be an interesting way to bring discussions of science and religion together. And that's fascinating to me. I come at it from a historical point of view, so I'm interested in historically how those three have come together. So I'm excited to sort of see how that has resonance with current discussions. And I would have loved to have that conversation, because the work that I presented today, I see many similarities to the kind of conversation we had at this conference. And so I'm very interested in how really we're asking a lot of the same questions in a different way. And so I would love to sort of talk about that. But yes, when I'm asked a question, I'm going to respond in an academic way, because I am here as an academic. And so I just want to say that I'm not going to apologize for that. That's why I'm here. So I find these concepts very interesting, and I've been really enjoying the conversations, and I really want to push these ideas. As you say, I think that's what we do. That's actually how we honor the discussion. We push it, we criticize if we see a problem, we try to understand. We make comparisons so we can try to understand. It's not to deride. So I'd like to have those conversations, but also not be shut down that, well, that's too academic or too complicated. Well, then I don't know why I'm being asked to talk about it, I guess. I just have to say that, because I feel like I've been put in a position that sort of misled me about what I'm supposed to do here, and I just need to say that. So.
Bernhard,
I think Dr.
sorry.
Atkins
Yes, let's go back.
was good.
A moment, exactly, a very rare moment of silence in this entire conference. The question of the relation between science and religion is, I think, one that takes many, many faces, and one form of that can be what's the difference, what's the line of demarcation. I imagine that there are many. There's a question of ways in which they're compatible, ways in which they can be sympathetic to each other but different, and ways in which they are in fact different and incompatible. Those are all interesting, I think, ways of approaching the question of the relation, or really the relations between science and religion. But if I may, I just want to go back to one more version of that question, and it's this: if someone says subjectively, I feel that a knowledge claim in philosophy, I know that my Redeemer liveth. I know blank. I know. In that case, you have a claim of knowledge. Now, do we want to bring the best philosophy we can find in to help clarify and better understand that question? Or do we want to say, on the other hand, that that's a subjective utterance. That's the kind of thing that is one's own business. That's the kind of thing that, you can say, I can say, anybody can say. And in fact, the saying of it is itself its own confirmation. In which case, any appeal to the sort of what philosophy can offer becomes sort of irrelevant. It seems to me that these are two very different kinds of projects. And if one does endorse the subjectivist view, I'd say I don't criticize that. I just want to understand as fully as I can exactly the way in which it is a subjectivist view, and I will respect it as that. If, on the other hand, it's a knowledge claim invoking the history of what we human beings know about epistemology, then I, for one, want to do my best to ask the people who have thought the hardest and longest about those questions and bring them in to help out, because, God knows we need it.
I think that on the one hand, we want to bring in the best that we have historically, obviously, and whether it's amplifying or assisting, or if it's challenging. Before I was just saying that in trying to frame an answer, I find it easier to address it, like the specific sort of clinical issue, as opposed to the entire works of a particular philosopher. Meaning, for the sake of sort of clarity of the audience, watching the program later. So obviously, this is an academic conference. We want to bring to bear Schopenhauer, and et cetera. But I think it's more in your domain to articulate it, more than in my domain to peg off of it for the audience. That's what I was trying to say before. Yeah. I think it's more, I get more clarity if I'm pegging off specific points, where it's your prerogative to explicate the Schopenhauer or whoever to make your point. That was trying to handle. Yeah. Obviously, if it's only my subjective thoughts, it's not particularly worthwhile. Yeah. It's only if it's dovetailing with the collected thinking of many players along the way. Yeah. Even though at the same time, we believe that this is an original presentation. Yes. At the same time, we want to incorporate or integrate as many as possible. Yeah. And for me anyway, it's just where, and this goes back to what Tammy was just saying a moment ago, it's just where you say, David, that if it were just your own private subjective claim, it wouldn't be a claim that you publish. You wouldn't put it out there. Where the minute it crosses that line between your sort of articulation of your subjective experience into an experience or into an articulation that makes a claim on somebody else's assent, at that point, I want to say, let's use all we've got. For sure. I mean, obviously that's the Gennady did it, and you're doing it heavily, and it's what makes this whole thing vibrant. Yeah, exactly. And over the course of the last few days, we've seen this great intellectual feast of all kinds of things, all kinds of pieces of a mosaic that, as the Gennady says, do in fact fit together. In complex ways. I was caught by surprise by Bruce Chilton's line of approach that this is sort of new Gnosticism. I must admit, I sort of missed that whole play in my X number of years of research. I look just in stepping back a second. We've had many aggressive conversations with Peter Atkins and the other people over the course of this conference, and been very dynamic. So it's sometimes I've talked to Peter about matters of style vis-a-vis other speakers in private. Anyway. But we love Peter, and we love him forever. And we're honored that he's at the conference. And obviously, we welcome aggressive probing and challenge. So that's never been the issue. Never, ever been the issue. And in fact, I had actually suggested to Bruce Chilton that Peter Atkins be on the panel, but they were limited to the microphones, frankly. And I know Tammy Nyden said she wants to be on the conference on this panel to talk about Summa. She was demanding it.